So on Sundays, welcome to Sunday. Sundays, we just hang out. We watch something, we discuss something that's been on the tip of my brain throughout the week. This time last week, well, not exactly this time, but about a week ago, I got to meet Tank Ferret. This is a Twitter handle. This is like a YouTube chatter, YouTube commentator that I've interacted with through my live streams and through my comments for years now, and I've seen him around on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We finally did a live stream, and honestly, like, I was just super excited to have this guy come on. I don't have people come on often, but it was just great to talk to him and see who this person was. And he himself has been, a little bit like me. We've been echoing each other with doing just more live streams, putting ourselves out there more and more in a slightly different way. And immediately, I don't know why. Well, actually, he brings it up. So he brings up this Garfield. Give me a slice of coffee. And I'm like, what slice of coffee from? What is that? And he explains it. It's a Garfield bit. And so our first discussion that this person that I've interacted with on social media for years, our first real discussion, face to face as much as we can do, is about Jim Davis and Garfield. And while I was speaking with him, I realized, I need to know more about this guy, because I've been planning a Jim Davis evolution episode for this podcast, where I really want to showcase where his art style began, and the evolutionary, like the form of it all, not the products, not the movies, not the cartoon series, but just the pure drawing style and how he perfectly refined it. And then, like, there's a commerce discussion, there's a product discussion that is buddied with that art style evolving, because I think it will be valuable. But in the meantime, I'm trying to wrap my head around that video, and everything started from a random live stream, and now we're here. So we have about an hour of Jim Davis interviews, documentaries, and news segments. Let's enjoy.
Exactly. Well, Roger Rabbit includes just about every animated cartoon character there is, except one very popular cool cat, Garfield. The fickle feline was created by cartoonist Jim Davis, who just may be Garfield's alter ego. The famous cat has had very little trouble with his stardom and the transition from the funny pages to the TV screen.
Do you know me?
Who cares?
That, of course, is Garfield. He's fat,
Full-figured,
ill-mannered, and to think I created him.
While Jim Davis may not be recognizable to everyone, the tubby tabby sitting next to him is. Garfield has not only brought Davis fame and fortune, he's made him a fat cat in the comic strip business.
The success was quite unexpected. Had I just maintained a comic strip, I would have considered myself a success. In fact, had I just earned beer and cigarette money, I would have been a success.
Success, in fact, did not come easy for Davis. Before Garfield, Davis spent several years trying to syndicate a comic strip called Norm Nat, but syndicators just wouldn't bite.
I tried a bug strip, but as one syndicate editor said, nobody can identify with bugs. Bugs just aren't that nice. People cannot relate a human feeling or a thought with a bug. They can with a cat, because cats are everywhere. Cats are international. Everybody loves cats.
I think I could get used to this. What more could a cat want?
What started on June 19th, 1978 as a comic strip in just 40 newspapers is turned into a national obsession. With 24 million cat-owning households in the United States alone, is it any wonder why there are more than 3,000 varieties of Garfield products sold worldwide? Whether he's appearing in a parade or putting his paws in cement, all the attention apparently hasn't bothered Garfield, but his creator had to learn to cope with the constant pressures to deliver a product.
Essentially, I write on funny days. Some mornings I wake up funny, and that's what I write. If I'm not, then I do anything or everything else. It may take an hour, it may take 2 hours to get into that mood, and when I'm in that mood, my toes tapping, I'm sweating, I'm drinking a lot of coffee, and it's a high energy situation.
I'll try to contain my excitement. Ho-hum.
Davis has 30 books in publication and currently holds the world record for having 7 books on the New York Times bestseller list simultaneously. Not to mention 7 television specials, 3 of which have earned Davis Emmy Awards. But so much success is cause for major concern.
Quite frankly, one of my big concerns is overexposing the character. And we have paced him very carefully over the years so that people don't see too much of Garfield at any one time, because we're very interested in being able to work for Garfield for the rest of our careers. I'd like to be doing this for the next 25 years.
What do you think?
Baffo, terrific, don't change a thing. I love it just the way it is. Let's do lunch.
Yeah, dig you the most too, Garfield.
Hey, that's the way we talk around here.
You're right.
Well, Garfield is celebrating his 10th birthday this weekend, so happy birthday, Garfield. And this fall, he'll make his Saturday morning TV debut with Garfield and Friends, and that's on the CBS network.
Ah, yeah, I'm all for it. More airtime for Garfield. Well, there are no furry creatures or animated characters in the next movie you're going to hear about.
I'm Jim Davis, and this is Paws Incorporated, where the Garfield comic strip is drawn every day. And we're going to show you how it's drawn. I write the comic strip 1 week out of the month. And what I've learned is that if I can really focus a week on just the writing of the strip, I can create a month's worth of gags. Garfield writes his own material. I simply edit. It's really getting into this almost meditative state. He has to make me laugh first before I write anything else down. Sometimes the gags don't come as easily as other times, so I do use some tricks to get into a funnier mood. It helps to be rested, by the way. I drink coffee to get the heart pounding. Also, I like to read comic books. When it's all complete in my head, then I start the rough drawing. I hear the voice, I see the characters, and I very quickly try to sketch it out before the image goes away. The trick is actually freeze-framing Garfield, because he's animated in my head, so I have to stop him in just the appropriate position because I only have 3 frames to work within. I set the gag up, I twist it, and then I resolve the situation. When I'm done with the thumbnail sketches, then I take them to Eric for penciling.
Hi, I'm Eric Reeves, and I do the blue line and lettering for the Garfield comic strip. Okay, what I'm doing now is just interpreting Jim's rough sketch and taking it into a more final look. You can draw circles, you can draw Garfield. We use the cotton glove simply to keep our body oils and grease off the surface while we're drawing. When you make a mistake, it's really no big deal. You just get your eraser out and erase. Once the blue line pencils are done, then I put the lettering on. The Garfield strip is a little different in that we do all our lettering by hand. So when I sit down and do the lettering, you have that hand feel that you don't get from a computer. You know, every E is not exactly the same. It gives it, just a little bit more character to the strip. Once the lettering is done, then my job is over, and I walk it over to Lars, and he starts on the inking.
Hi, my name is Larry Fentz. Some people call me Lars, and I ink the Garfield comic strip. And I usually start inking on either the eyes or Garfield's nose, just because it's the center of his face, and the ovals seem to be the most difficult to do, so I get those out of the way right off the bat. The black line just allows you to see the line work more readily. It prints easier. The blue line would actually drop out, so that's basically a map or a guideline to ink by. This headset allows me to magnify the strip so I can see what I'm inking. I have to be able to control the brush precisely, and it's difficult if you can't see the brush. Well, not everybody has to wear these, just the old guys. The ink dries pretty fast, but I have caught myself going faster than the ink dries. And that's it, we're ready for color.
Hi, I'm Tom Howard. I'm the colorist for the Garfield cartoon strip. So I basically have it scanned in the computer, and then it'll become a digital file, and from there it comes into my Photoshop program where I'll start my coloring. The stylus, I can basically get in and color things in a very tight kind of motion. Also, a stylus gives you a little more flexibility for the artist. Rather than using a block of soap or something like that, the stylus gives an artist the same feel as a brush or a pen. We have certain colors that we use for the Garfield characters, the oranges, the browns, the yellows. One Garfield orange, it's a sort of a vibrant orange. It's a 137 is what its number is. There's an open area where the inker hasn't filled in a line or connected a line. The color will come all the way through into the background. So for this particular one, I'm going to kind of fill in a little bit of Garfield here and overlap. And basically, I'll fill in as much as I can here to try to find the open spaces and basically fill in like this. Then I'll go back and use white to clean up the edges. Garfield's lip is a Pantone 100. And basically, I'll go in here and fill in the open areas here with a brush tool. Looks like we're all done now, and this will go off to Jim for his approval. Here you go, Jim.
This is brilliant. Who wrote this?
You did, Mr. Davis.
Oh, of course. And what you've seen up to now is really easy. Now comes the really tough part, and that is sending the comic strips to the newspapers. This is how we do it.
Our next guest didn't just create a cartoon of a sarcastic cat. He basically created an empire.
We are talking about the one, the only Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, and he's here with us this morning doing some drawing. We really appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
A lot of fun. We have so many things to talk about. Garfield at 25, in dog years, I'd be dead. I'd be dead. So we were talking about a lot of the changes over the 25 years.
Yeah.
Garfield.
We were just chatting, right before.
My sister collected all the books, the first book, second book, third book, and just over the years, noticed Garfield, while still considered a fat cat, a little less jowly.
Right. Oh, definitely.
Was that an intentional thing, or did he go on?
No, he was like a big lump of clay to begin with. There was more attitude, and then over time to animate him, here's the way sort of he looks now. He used to have these little tiny eyes like this, and these great big rabbit ears. And when he first started, and over time, everything that was expressive on him actually got larger, and like the eyes over here. But look at this; he had this big, lumpy head like this, and that's the way he kind of looked to begin with. And
so what influences the changes over time for you as the artist?
Animation. He had to get up, he had to dance and walk and everything like this, and it was for his first show. So I stood him up on 2 feet like this, and so you can notice now he can better walk, dance, kick Odie, reach for
He kind of a blob in the first
things
couple
like
books. He didn't really want to move too much.
Let's talk a little bit about your father, right? Or your grandfather.
My grandfather.
Your grandfather is kind of who the personality of Garfield? Is that kind
James A. Garfield Davis was his name, and he was a large, cantankerous man. He was kind of stubborn, a little gruff, but he had these eyes that gave him away. He was a softie.
Oh yeah, underneath it all.
And that's the way Garfield is too.
A lot of the same personality, some of the same personality characteristics.
How do you keep coming up with new stuff after 25 years?
If anything, it's getting easier because I know Garfield so well. He writes his own material. I can watch him like a TV set in my head. I can put him in a situation, conjure him up, and then I watch. When he does something funny, I back up 3 frames and
encapsulate it, and there you go.
How much fun has this been? I mean, 25 years of just, doing what you love, and I can't even imagine that.
I can't believe I get paid for it. It is. It's like, it's great fun because I'm dealing with bright colors and laughter, and I don't worry about a lot of the things you do in normal business. It's just making people feel better. It's what it's all about.
When you figured out you wanted to do a cartoon on this character, did you have any sense of what you would eventually create in terms of sitting at a stoplight, looking to your left, looking to your right, and seeing Garfield's tail end sticking out of a window, the phenomenon, the bed sheets, everything?
I thought maybe I'd do a book someday, and maybe a doll. This guy right here, he must be about 22, 23 years old. Yeah, it's absolutely one of the first ones from Dakin. Yeah.
Let's talk about that email too.
He's a collector.
Yeah, you have so many fans. No surprise to you. I know you know about a lot of them. One of our fans of our show is a huge fan of yours. She just wrote this email in. She says, it's Jessica from CVS. I'm the biggest Garfield fan ever. She has a tattoo of Garfield on her body.
You didn't do that one, did you?
Yeah, you haven't done that? You don't need to. Maybe you should have done her tattoo. That would have been really cool. Her bathroom and her apartment entirely done in Garfield. She just simply asked if she could possibly have an autograph. She wants us to help. So we'll get that arranged for you, Jessica, as long as that's okay with you. And then I know, are we giving the book?
We are going to give this, and you autograph this book.
That's right.
As well. We are giving this book away today to make your morning. And if you roll that up, I can tell exactly how it is. It's going to be color 5. Right now, 239-1059, you are going to get this autograph book by Mr. Davis himself. So,
and there's a new movie coming out as well. I know in the past, Garfield was voiced, I don't know the actor's name, he was Carlton, your doorman on the road show. I know, but now,
music.
And now you have a new voice.
For the Garfield movie coming out in about a year, we just cast Bill Murray.
Oh! How fun is that going to be?
All the attitude.
The physical proportions are pretty similar.
That's true.
In the movie, gosh, how is that going to be? How different will that be for you?
It's going to be very different because it's live action, and it's going to have Jennifer Love Hewitt as the love interest for John Arbuckle. She's going to be Liz, the veterinarian. Breckenmeyer is going to be John Arbuckle. Rat Race, Road Trip, Kate Leopold, and at any rate, it's live action. Garfield is going to be all computer generated, and so he's going to have fur, walk on all fours. The other animals are going to be real with computer generated faces, and so it's going to be very different. From the producer of Dr. Dolittle, Grumpy Old Man, John Davis is fabulous.
Big time.
Good for you. Congratulations.
It's big time. We're excited about it.
You're just on your second chapter, just starting.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Just getting warmed up.
Again, thank you so much for being with us this week. We really appreciate it.
Fun.
Lots of fun.
I mean, a lot of smiles worldwide.
Hey guys, welcome to my world. I'm Jim Davis. I draw the comic strip Garfield. So for the next few minutes I'm going to show you what I do, show you around the studio, and talk a little bit about our holiday specials. This is my desk here, all my computers and everything. This used to be a drawing board, now it holds my laptop computer. And I actually draw the comic strip digitally these days. This is it's a Cintiq, and I can draw big Garfields and color them in if I want. And this is it's great fun to play with, and a great toy. Of course, nothing replaces being able to draw naturally really well. So let me show you something. You notice I still have lots of books around here. That's one of the things, if you want to be a cartoonist, I think as important as being able to draw well, you should read. Read everything. The more you read, the more material you have to work with your comic strip. So pick up a book and start working on your material today. Speaking of working, here's some artwork from my grandchildren. Every Friday they get off the school bus and we spend an hour or so drawing together, painting, coloring, and talking about art and cartooning and things like that, and we have a great time. And for me, I guess it sounds a little strange, but I don't believe in something called art talent. I believe in experience, that the more you draw, the better you get. If you have thousands of drawings behind you, every drawing from then on is going to be really good. So let me show you how I draw Garfield. I always start with the eyeballs, and then I always hope he ends up on the page from here. He has these big expressive eyes and these little ears. Over time, his mouth's getting bigger and bigger. That's because he loves to eat, and it makes him a lot more expressive too. He has big full cheeks, like me. And I always work in a mirror for several years, copying my expressions for Garfield and for John. So as a result, we gradually started to look a lot alike. And of course, he's got this big tummy. I didn't really copy real cats when I designed Garfield. I thought what I thought would be a funny cartoon cat would be truer to the character Garfield than if I tried to draw a real one. Garfield, by the way, is named after my grandfather. His name was James A. Garfield Davis. He was named after the president. And he was a big stubborn man and reminded me in many ways of Garfield. So I thought that would be a good name for him. Put some stripes on the back. Have him wave to you here. There we go. He's happy to see you. Put some ground indications in here. There we go. And the most important part, my signature. Here we go. And that's Garfield. Okay, enough of that. Let's go take a tour of the studio. We're here in Indiana. A fireplace is a really good thing to have in the wintertime. I keep that going all the time in the winter to keep us warm. We're in the middle of the country out here. This is the main part of the studio. You'll see my portrait up there, sort of done with pointillist kind of style. It's kind of silly. I never look up when I go out that way. We're here on about 30 acres of woods and meadows and ponds. It's very nice. It makes it very relaxing to work. So when things get really crazy, we just go take a walk in the woods, go scream at the squirrels. You can see out here, Indiana cornfields right across the street. This makes it a very peaceful place to work. And the only thing really where you could tell that this is Garfield's studio that's out front, we don't have any signs or anything, but we do have this big paw print. So aside from the fact this is a rather large building to be sitting in the middle of the country, this is the only thing that says it's really Garfield's home. So we have a lot of fun here. Let's go inside and meet some of the people, and I'll show you some of the things we do here for Garfield. This is the front door. This is where all the mail comes in. And all of Garfield's guests. Oh, hey Kim. Hey Frida. Hi Sheila. This is Garfield. And this is the first strip that I ever did. It's 36 years ago. So Garfield, John, in case you didn't know it, actually is a cartoonist. I only alluded to this in the first comic strip. It goes, hi there, I'm John Arbuckle, I'm a cartoonist, and this is my cat, Garfield. Look how different he was then. He had the little tiny eyes, big fat cat. Garfield says, hi there, I'm Garfield, I'm a cat, and this is my cartoonist, John. John says, our only thought is to entertain you. And Garfield says, feed me. Kind of set the tone for the next 36 years. So here's Garfield. Very popular picture opportunity. So Garfield's doing what he does best, sitting and relaxing. You'll see a lot more of that around the studio. So here he is again. This is one of our mottos here. Are we having fun yet? We always try to have a good time because if we're not having fun, we change things around here. Yeah, Garfield's actually sitting in my director's chair. It's got my name on it there from doing the first Garfield movie, Garfield the movie. We'll go down this hall. We have an educational foundation called ProfessorGarfield.org. And these are some of the awards and recognitions for the work we've done over the years. We provide educational content free online at ProfessorGarfield.org. And as part of our contribution in support of encouraging literacy. And we have a lot of educational kind of modes too. We teach mathematics and all sorts of stuff. But primarily it's about reading, because we found that putting a picture with a word, as in cartooning, really helps people learn to read better. So we're all about that. Let's go this way. Let's go to the computer department. We got writers here. Look at all these comic books. You can tell the writers. There's an actual writer in there. Here's a writer. Be very quiet. Okay, don't surprise him. Right. This is our atrium. Everything's built around all this atrium where we can gather, play cards, read, have lunch, and everybody gets a window this way. Indiana winters are a little cold, a little dreary, and we run the risk of getting angry and nasty, so we keep sunshine in the building and to keep everything light and funny, because that's what we do for a living. And so we have a good time here. Here's a little Garfield sculpture with a little fountain. And oh, it's one of my favorite little toys here. Here's Garfield in a Garfield ride. This is really fun. Here we go. What's this? And oh, here we are. All right. And it plays music, and it's really fun. And I have a really good time getting into it. And there we go. Okay. Maybe I'm a little bit large for it. But okay, I need some help. Okay. Anybody? Is anyone here? Hello? Hello? Okay. This now it really isn't funny. Okay, here we go. All right. Let's go to the art department. This is where all the fun pictures and all the art's done. You can see these are some designs we're doing for some Garfield art down the road. One of our designers, Jeff Wesley, he actually heard me even with his earbuds in. You can see he's a big collector too. You see the theme around here? Lots of toys and funny stuff. So it helps to be a cartoon fan in this line of work. All kinds of products from the international market. Ideas. Oh, and cartoonists too. You're going to be famous. This is Lori Barker. She's been working on Garfield forever. Look at this. Look how big she works on this antique here, inking the Garfield strip. It makes it easier. We all learned with brush and ink, and it took some time to learn how to work with a stylus. We used to use all these drawing boards. Now you can see that they're all computers over here. It's Lars, works with coloring, you can see he loves to do watercolor as well. And what are you working on, Lars?
I've got some files here strips that I'm preparing to be colored.
All right.
So they were Illustrator. They're going into Photoshop, making black and white TIFF file. And here's one that's getting there. And then I will make a color TIFF file. And then proceed to color.
All of the comic strips go into color electronically as well. And then once they're colored, signed and dated, then as opposed to putting them in a package and mailing them to the syndicate, we go press a button these days and go, it's magic. Here's old color proofs of the Sunday strips and stuff we did and the separations, getting ready in preparation for publishing in book form. And through here, we have people doing design. You can see all kinds of artwork on the walls. And the posters, like from the Garfield TV show right here. Over here, actually, we do molding here. And our sculptor, Marvin Porter, has worked with all of these products. And you can see we work with little dolls and cast products and things like that. This actually, it's called a maquette, and it was sculpted to create the Garfield for the Garfield movie from 20th Century Fox. You'll notice we had to choose, do we give him cat teeth or human teeth? And we had to determine how his hair laid back, and then this was scanned with a laser and then input for the animation for the movie. And a lot of product comes through this studio, and we have great fun with it because Garfield was drawn flat for the comic strip. Is not quite the same Garfield that we have to mold in 3D for when product comes out, because you've never seen Garfield in a comic strip in perfect profile because he doesn't have much of a nose. And here we do a lot of the copying and everything like that. We've got also people here who work directly with the manufacturers who make all the Garfield product. And this is me. This is from the second Garfield movie, Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties. It takes place in England in an old castle. And you could see this is one of their counts or whatever, and who had a cat that looked an awful lot like Garfield at one time. And the producers, a joke, made the aristocrat look strangely like somebody I know. And he gave me the painting after we got done shooting the movie. And here's where I spend some time every day too. This is my signing table right here. I sign all the fan mail and everything every day, sometimes several times a day. And it's fun to read, the comments the fans have, about what they like about the strip, what they don't like about the strip, or what they recommend to do with the strip. And kids, they like to draw Garfield and send them in from classes and things like that. And it's just always fun to see. I never get tired of seeing how people respond to Garfield. It's very exciting because I do it to entertain myself and to think other people laugh at it. It's a real rush. It's great fun. You can see too other cartoonists work on Garfield. We put Garfield, they put Garfield in their strips, and I put their characters in my strip. We have a lot of fun with that. Let's go upstairs. In fact, I'll show you some more art that we do and some more products. We have a lot of people visit the studio to work on books and shows and products and things like that. So we've put all of our favorite products and everything into a big conference room, a big showroom, so that we could have creative sessions and show people what we do. And there's the big guy right there. And here's just a sampling of the Garfield product. You can see these are things we've done over the years, from collectible plates to actual teapots to flower pots to telephones. And it's been great fun. You have to learn a lot of different things when you work with the products, about electronics and about publishing and about media and things like that. So these are products from all over the world. Garfield's in about, let's see, he's in 111 countries. He's published in 28 languages. And so we have samples of his pet product. Here's an actual pachinko machine from Japan. And these are international clothing, leather jackets. Those were wonderful. And all kinds of bedding, kid stuff, publishing, Garfield in all these different languages. He works really well in other languages because basically all he does is eat and sleep. So everybody eats and sleeps, and they like cats all around the world. So he's been very popular in the international markets. And we have Christmas ornaments and all kinds of figurines. Look at the size of this plush over here. These are just huge. I've often said it kind of wears me out to look at all this product because with each and every product there's a story. Design time, going back and forth, prototyping, and kind of going to manufacture on each of these products. But it's been great fun over the years. We have client meetings over here and creative sessions. So we can run up images of Garfield and work with the artists real time and design things. You can see there's a big poster of Garfield's Pet Force, one of the direct-to-videos we produced ourselves here. Just fun stories, good times. And this is the conference room. Ta-da! 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 La! Thank you, thank you. Okay, this is some of our favorite product from some of the promotions that we've done over the years. And this is one of my favorite walls. This is stuff we've done with other cartoonists. Here's some of the stuff we even draw together sometimes when we get together. The cartoonists are like a bunch of kids. We'd just as soon be having some laughs, playing golf, things like that, as drawing the comic strips. But to us, that's not work. I say it's nice work if you can get it, but to be honest, I can't believe I'm getting paid for it because we have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs doing all of this. And here's an area where we have some of our TV and cartooning recognition as well. This is a Reuben. This is the award for outstanding cartooning. And of course, these are Emmys for best writing for primetime specials, and of which this is one, the Halloween special. This was a great project for us because we wanted to really scare kids, and we did it with real classic ghosts and pirates and things like that. And I wrote the script, and then we spent day and night for several weeks up here, right here, storyboarding, doing the layout drawings and everything for the Halloween special. In fact, even though this was animated in Hollywood, there was a part of the special we animated here because we wanted to get a very specific effect. And that was that really scary scene where the pirate ghosts come out of the bay and start swirling around on the beach before going into the house. We did that with white pencils and on dark backgrounds, and then did it in slow motion to make them look eerie and make them look like they were glowing. And we had just lots of fun with the scary voices and all the big jokes. Garfield, of course, with the peg leg and everything like that. And then the Thanksgiving special is probably the most Garfield-like of all the specials because it's all about food. He's put on a diet early in the special, and then the rest of the story is about him trying to get food. And of course, it's about family and relationships and everything like that. John dealing with his bachelorhood, trying to prepare a big dinner and everything before the family comes in. And we had great fun with that. And of course, the iconic show for our holiday was the Christmas special. I wanted to do a special that, a Christmas that was like my Christmas, growing up on the farm with my family. I actually have a brother, Doc Boy, Mom and Dad, all on the farm. And I wanted to do something to capture kind of the magic of Christmas for that I could remember from my childhood and some of the kind of things we did on the night before Christmas and the day of Christmas, hoping that it would help other people reminisce about their Christmases as well, wherever they live, in another country, on the East and West Coast. I just wanted to pack it with a lot of warmth and a lot of humor and things like that. In fact, Pat Carroll played the part of the grandmother, great Shakespearean actress, and just a great actress all around, and she did such a super job with that. We really padded her part as the grandmother because I wanted to give her some real warmth. One of my philosophies of doing a show like this is make them laugh, make them cry, and so that you run the gamut of emotions, and it's well worth your time spent watching the show. And she really helped with that. We actually reanimated part of this show. We worked on it so hard and ran right up the deadline. We felt parts of the show were just a little bit jerky. So after it aired on CBS about 30 years ago, we actually went back and reanimated about 7 or 8 minutes of the show to get it just right, just the way we wanted it. And so I'm really pleased with the Christmas special. So, any questions? No, joke. There is going to be a test, however. But those are the holiday specials, and they're a great time, just great classic stories. And so I was happy to be able to share those experiences with you, show you a little bit of the operation. So thanks so much for being with me.
There's something lovable about this incredibly ungracious cat that people can relate to.
Universally, I have never seen one article of Garfield that isn't cute. It's all cute.
All of a sudden, you're sitting watching TV some night, and you're watching a completely different sitcom, and something about Garfield comes up. And you realize that everybody knows Garfield.
And I think Jim Davis has really understood what people needed. Jim Davis is the perfect storm, right? And Garfield is the result of that.
I was born in 1945 on a little 120-acre farm about 5 miles outside of Fairmount, Indiana, east central part of the state, and life was great. It was one of those glorious childhoods filled with sunshine and running through the fields, and cats and dogs and animals and good times.
It was laid back as a rule. This was kind of a bedroom community. It was, you were either a farmer or you worked for the automotive industries that were everywhere at the time. And half the kids in your school were farm boys and girls or not.
I grew up on a farm with about 25 cats on average. I guess the only downside was that I was asthmatic. So I did spend a lot of my childhood, in bed. Because I was allergic to just about everything. But as a result of that, my mother always put a pencil in my hand and encouraged me to draw when I couldn't go out and do chores or be with the animals or anything. So that's really how I developed my skills to be a cartoonist. Now, while asthma worked for me, I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but drawing was a way of communicating, a way that other artists might sing or dance or write poetry. For me, it was drawing, and I learned early on to use pictures with words because my art was terrible. I would draw a cow, and I would write the word cow and draw an arrow down to it. So I always put words with the picture. So I guess I came about it naturally. I was never able to separate the two. Both sides of the brain were trained early on. I attended a very small high school in Fairmount. I played 4 years of football. I was obviously in the art department, but 4-H, speech club. I was in school plays all 4 years, acting for Adeline Knoll, who was James Dean's drama coach. I actually learned a lot about doing a comic strip from doing theater because there's not that much difference in it, in that by virtue of being the cartoonist, I get to write the script, I get to set the stage, I get to determine the blocking and determine how everybody moves and acts with that. All I do is freeze frame them and draw them, in 3 frames. When I started at Ball State Teachers College in 1963, the only thing that they offered in art was art education. So for 3 years, I studied in the art department toward being a teacher, when actually I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to do something with the craft. In the back of my mind, I'd love to be a cartoonist, but that just seemed so far out there. When I finally got it to the part where I actually had to do the student teaching, where the rubber hit the road, I thought, maybe if I go over to business, maybe I can get into advertising or art studio or something like that. While that wasn't really what motivated me, it nevertheless gave me some great background for eventually doing what I'm doing, with this business. Unknowingly, I thought I was going to be working just in art, but as it turns out, with licensing and those kind of opportunities that were afforded, the comic strip, I'm glad I got that experience as well. I paid a visit to Tom Ryan, who did the Tumbleweeds comic strip, and he was only a few blocks from the university and from where I worked at the Commercial Arts Studio. And I showed him my art. And he asked me to become his assistant. And I said, well, I have to think about it first. Sure. And so in 1969, I started working for Tom, T.K. Ryan, as he signed his strips. And I worked for Tom for 9 years, doing the backgrounds, borders, balloons for Tom, and doing the inking and stuff like that, and answering his fan mail. So I got sort of a feeling of what it was like to maintain a syndicated comic strip. During the course of that 9 years, I tried to come up with some ideas to syndicate a strip myself. That was always, that gave me the confidence working for Tom to try to go after a strip. Tom had said that one syndicate executive said, you know, it'd be great to have maybe a comic strip about bugs. I go, bugs? I can do bugs. So I created a strip called Normnat, G-N-O-R-M-G-N-A-T.
Like so many cartoonists that are trying to find something that's going to stick. You know, you throw a lot of spaghetti against the wall, you know, to find out what stuff's going to stick. So he did, you know, Normnat, right? And he was working on the tumbleweeds for a little while, honing his skills for another master of the craft. And I think at one point, you know, Normnat got rejected, and they just like, yeah, bugs aren't funny.
Bugs? Nobody can relate to bugs. And so I just had this Norm walking down the street. He's just in a great mood, and I had this big shoe come out of the sky and squash him flat. And that just ended the strip. So I took a long, hard look at the comics and trying to come up with something I wanted, you know, that people could relate to. I noticed dogs were doing really well in the comics. Snoopy, Marmaduke, Fred Bassett, Daisy, but no cats. And I thought, if dog lovers like dog strips, maybe cat lovers would like a cat strip. I spent a lot of time with the cats and the dogs outside. You know, I felt like, you know, I could understand them, but they really, Garfield is based as much on people I knew as on the animals I grew up with. I just put a human personality in a cat's body, but I think there's some truth to that in that dogs are dogs. You know where you stand with your dog. You know what your dog's thinking. Cats, they're a little withdrawn, you know, they're a little subdued. So people tend to, I think, lend human thoughts and feelings more to cats than they do dogs. So as a result, I can get away with Garfield thinking human thoughts. He's a human in a cat suit, essentially. And that also gives me a lot more latitude with the humor.
He's everybody's alter ego in some fashion. You know, if you're the shy, quiet type, you can see what you would like to be in Garfield. And I think everybody can identify with him in some fashion. And even when he's kicking Odie, you know, it's like, I'd like to do that to my boss, you know, but you can't. And but Garfield can get away with it.
I went to a Holiday Inn in Indianapolis for 3 days and just sat in a room with piles of paper and pens and pencils, and I just thought about it. So I thought, okay, a cat. What would a cat be like if it was human? I go, well, you know, cats are pretty much out for their own creature comfort. It's probably the same thing we are. Food, shelter, love, period, with no excuses. So, and so I created this cat personality. Then, from there, I created the opposites, because humor comes from conflict. Humor comes from tall, short, fat, skinny, smart, stupid, cat, dog. So I created, you know, this cat with forceful personality, his own mind about everything. So I gave him an owner who was kind of wishy-washy, daydreamer, an optimist as opposed to the pessimist. And then I gave them a dog. So as calculating as Garfield was, the dog was a free spirit, kind, loving, trusting, not the brightest thing in the world. And so that contrasted with Garfield. And so with that cast, I put them together, and it was like lightning in a bottle. They just interacted. When I write, when I create characters, I usually have something in mind, or I hear a voice, or I have, someone in mind, and I will have to admit that I am John. Got the big cheeks, easygoing, wishy-washy. I look forward to Mondays. I love mornings. And I harken back on my experiences, from Ball State days and stuff like that. John's lack of success with dating and stuff, it was just those awkward moments and stuff like that. So I drew a lot of my own experiences for John, absolutely. And which makes him the perfect foil for Garfield.
Initially, Garfield was fat and squinty-eyed and didn't have stripes. And unlike human beings, as Garfield got older, he got skinnier and cuter.
Jim Davis has perfected exactly the form that he wants Garfield to look like. And it's really interesting, actually, if you look over the course of the 40 years, the adjustments that have been made to the various characters, to John, to Garfield himself. And this doesn't just happen accidentally. Jim intentionally goes back every few years to say, do we need to adjust this so it doesn't stay boring?
My strip, Garfield, really doesn't deal with any social or political comment whatsoever. That's for the rest of the paper. That's for the news broadcasts. And so if I say anything with a strip, it's lighten up. Shouldn't take ourselves or the world so seriously at times. I can consciously put Garfield into a situation, up a tree, camping, looking out a window. But then my work's done. Then I just watch, and he writes the material. I ask myself, where would he go? What would he do? What would the other characters say and do? Then when they do something funny, I back up 3 frames and cut it off. I get to say and do a lot of things I ordinarily wouldn't as me, because I'm a really positive, kind of upbeat guy, and so I get to, vent through Garfield sometimes, through that kind of writing. 30 days into the strip, I had 41 newspapers, and the biggest paper, the Chicago Sun-Times, dropped it. They thought if they dropped the newest strip, they would get the least reaction.
And you have to understand, the way these decisions are made, it's an editor, and he gets called on by other syndicates that have other comic strips, and he might go home and ask his kids or his grandkids, but there was no scientific way to do this. They dropped the comic strip, and the letters to the editor were out of this world. You've got to bring it back, and it was so loud that not only did he bring it back, but it made the newspapers all over the country.
They asked me to do a strip coming back to the paper, and I did. I did one Garfield saying, "Oh, it's back, good to be back in Chicago." And
so major newspapers in the major markets began to ask, maybe we should get Garfield.
It gave me a good feeling that maybe Garfield had staying power already. The fans are everything. We get stories, to this day that just rip your heart out. Somebody may be going through a rough time, but the strip helped him. I had thought it would be fun to be able to do licensing. I wanted to do books. I mocked up a book, and I had the opportunity to do some licensing. I was at a crossroads. Do I just be a cartoonist and let other people, handle product if there is any success? And so, or do I get involved with that because I'd been at a commercial art studio, I knew art production. Early on, I was living over on the edge of the university in a little house, and we had a couple of artists downstairs working in the house, and it was getting busier and it was getting crazier already by 1980.
As I understand it, he formed Paws Incorporated in 1981 because things began to happen and they needed a structure and a framework to put everything behind. But even in 1981, I think that he may have had 1 or 2 employees, an assistant on the strip, and someone to start the marketing and sales associated with the comic strip, and we were beginning to get requests already.
I started hiring artists and hired a writer and hired a music writer and then art director, and then we needed account executives to work with the companies who were making the products. I think the logistics of growing with the program have taken as much time as doing, the program. But it gave us nice control, kept all the program and the products and the services worldwide closer to the source, the inspiration for the character and everything. And so it served us well over time.
As the number of papers that carried Garfield increased little by little, they used to hold, even before I joined the staff, they used to hold 100 paper parties. But his kept going up 500, 600, 700, and we knew that something really interesting was going on.
I started building my studio next door to keep quiet because it was getting really noisy and violent in the art department, with all the activity. Then we had more artists, so we expanded, added onto the house. Then we built a second story on the house. And then finally I built a big barn, moved the staff into a pole barn, and spent a year and a half and built this facility. It was nothing by design, but it was more in response to what we felt the market needed and what was best for the program. Our motto is, if we take care of the cat will take care of us. There's not a profit motive or anything. It's actually, if you do something, do it right.
And he's been there. It's not like he came back. He's been there the whole time, running this $1 billion a year empire from Albany, Indiana.
To do a comic strip, all you have to do is be near a mailbox in 1978. So I really never had a reason to move away from Indiana. And I had no desire to either. Friends, family, everything was right here. By virtue of having grown up on a farm, I really wanted to get back to the country. That's where I feel normal, And so it's great to step out of the studio and walk through the woods or through a meadow and, have the sky, as your only limitation and think great things. I like working in this kind of environment. What I've done with the 30 acres here is reestablish prairie and reforest, and occasionally we'd break a tile and form a pond and things like that, and wildlife started coming back. And as a result of studying this and doing this, we got involved with conservation, and so we plant more and more trees. My ultimate goal is to plant 1 million trees.
Okay, I'll do this the clever way. Want to play hide and seek, Odie? Yeah. Find a real good hiding place. I'll count to 100 and then come after you.
All of the original primetime specials, I wrote all of those. CBS wanted to do the Saturday morning shows, and I said I can't write that many shows and do the comic strips. So we found a great writer who had been writing a lot of sitcoms, a guy named Mark Evanier. Mark and I were just joined at the hip, and so we, for 7 years, did the CBS specials. He would write them. We worked together on treatments. I'd give a lot of them hands. And I came out, I directed all of the voice tracks then for 7 years.
He knew what he wanted. He knew the timing that it was intended in order for it to come across the way that he wanted it to. So he would direct those sessions
Oh, we're wearing our doggy coat, aren't we? Don't we look just precious in our
I get to let them go,
coat?
use kind of words and motions and everything and interacting with the other characters to get a point across. When I'm working with them in the comic strip, it's 25 words or less, 7 inches in the comic strip, very little space, and two-dimensional, no sound effects, no music, no anything, and you've got to get that story across. So freeze framing them actually is harder work than letting them go and having music and sound effects and all kinds of wonderful things to work with to help set the mood and drive the pacing of a story. We've always lived in a time where society makes us feel guilty about overeating, oversleeping, and so we carry that guilt. Garfield not only defends his right to do that, but he's cool with that. He's cool with himself. And therefore we look at that, and it's like showing a mirror to the reader, because more often than not, when they laugh at a Garfield gag, it's because they're saying, isn't that true? Not necessarily because it's funny, but because there's that, it resonates, with the readers. What gets me out of bed every morning is still doing the comic strip. That's still my main contribution to the program. But I do all the writing for the comic strip. I do rough thing because I see the gag when I write it. And then we do it digitally now, even though we're drawing it as we've always drawn it. It's just with a stylus instead of with a pencil and a pen.
It's still rough. He has a whole system that was built around it so that everyone involved in the comic strip could see at any given time where something was.
I do writing. I try to do it every week. Some weeks I'm funnier than others, but then in the meantime, I like to work with a lot on the animation of the TV series, usually on the animator, the director, and then the studios in Paris. So we get on video conference calls, and we play animatics back and forth and laugh, things like that. Just basically walk around, laugh a lot, and stay out of everybody else's way. It's a lot easier to get through the day, if you handle it with a little bit of humor. Humor's kind of disarming, and I think it puts people, in a mood that, where they can accept, where they can, at least if it's just an emotional break, to read a comic strip, have a smile, then you could face the rest of the day. So,
if Garfield weren't funny, no one would care. If Garfield weren't funny, it would just be annoying. But you could say that about so many of the other comic strips, right? If they're not going to be funny, they don't last. The difficulty, isn't it? The difficulty is saying something that's funny that's not offensive to somebody, somewhere. How do you do that? How do you go through enough filters to make sure that this is universally funny?
My philosophy is that there are all kinds of ways, of doing humor, telling gags. I don't do any shock humor or any uncomfortable kinds of laugh. Actually, that's easier to do. It's real easy to do, something real edgy and get a nervous laugh. But you don't necessarily feel better after you laugh. I like to think it's a shared laugh, and you do feel better. In fact, even maybe come away with a little better understanding of other people or something, or yourself, after you've read the gag. That, for me, is the perfect laugh.
If you had to put your finger on the real success of Jim Davis and Garfield,
Bye.